friends, welcome back to the Creativity Cure. I hope you're all feeling and doing amazingly well. Today's Creativity Cure journaling series, we're going to be discussing a topic that's been on my mind lately, and I think it'd be really good to get it down on paper and journal about it. I recently bought this new journal. It's ginormous compared to my old journal. But I'm kind of really starting to love it. It's Strathmore Mixed Media journal that has cotton paper, and it's, like I said, huge. But you can use obviously whatever journal you want. I like mixed media because you can use any kind of mediums like watercolors. For today, I'm going to be using some Distress Oxide inks. If you don't have them, you can use paints, you can use pens, or you can just write down however you're feeling. But I want to give you all a little bit of a jumping off point. I want to give you a topic that I want to discuss today, which, like I said, has been on my mind. And I think for a lot of people that are going through various obstacles and challenges in their life, it can really kind of bring you down. I found this really awesome stamp by Kelly Creates, and it's a bunch of word stamps. And I'm going to be using "You're awesome." Because, I mean, come on, how can you not feel good if you're journaling "You're awesome"? But what I want to talk about, and I don't know if it's because I've been having a lot more free time on my hands because of the corona and being inside and being on social media, but it's falling into the comparison trap. And I know that you guys have all done it. And if you haven't, you're so lucky because it can be damaging. So let's just start out by getting out our stamp. If you don't have a stamp, just write down "You're awesome" as big as you can on the top of the page. I'm using the embossing powder, and I love embossing powder because it's just so much fun. If you don't know what it is, it's just basically powdered plastic that sticks to the stamped image, and you use a heat tool and you melt it, and it can be either shiny or dull or metallic. This one is like a metallic bronze. You'll see as I use my heat gun on it how it like gets really shimmery. I love when if you've never used it, you're gonna be. The first time I used embossing powder, I was blown away. I know it sounds kind of ridiculous. You're like, what is this? But I'm gonna try to show you guys. It's super cool. It melts into the page. So while I'm getting my embossing gun ready, heated and blowing, you can see how it's blowing. This embossing gun is basically like a hair dryer, but instead of blowing fast, instead of like blowing a lot of air really quickly, it blows hot air not quickly. What's that? It blows hot air not quickly. See how and it melts the embossing powder. I'm trying to get it so you can see in the camera angle how it starts to melt it and it gets really shiny. Let me just tell you, this, for some reason, it just makes me so happy when I can melt embossing powder. I highly recommend it. If you've never done it, you're probably thinking, this guy is crazy. What is he talking about? But if you have, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so today I really want to talk about how easy it is to fall into, oh look, you can see how shimmery it is. How easy it is to fall into the comparison trap. And when you're going through something, whatever challenges, obstacles you're facing, this is one more thing that you really just don't need in your life. But unfortunately, it's everywhere. And you would think when you are, forced to be home that you don't have the comparison. But with social media, and I love social media, but if you're not prepared for it, if you don't know, if you what's the word for it? If you're not really careful, it can really, 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 really get to you. And this comparison trap is one game that I promise you will never, never, never win. Never. It's impossible. You cannot win the comparison game. You can only lose. I know, right? It's so true. And it's really easy to fall into the trap. I was recently, actually I just took some, just so you know, it's some clear embossing powder and a leaf stamp set. And I'm going to be using some fall colors just to kind of get into the fall mood, the spirit of fall. I love fall colors and the cool weather. I just don't like the lack of the amount of daylight. The 16 hours during the summer of daylight. I love that. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. I love being able to sit like in my living room at like 5 and then the sun doesn't set for like another like 3 hours. It's amazing. Like now if I go to sit and read, literally by the time I get the book and get back into the room, the sun is down already. That part I don't like. But other than that, I love fall colors. I love fall everything. So this is going to kind of have like a little bit of a fall theme. So anyway, getting back to social media. If you're not feeling too well and you're kind of, just say you're not feeling well, you're lying in bed and for some reason, you just can't get out of bed for the day, for whatever reason, whatever you're going through. And you happen to be scrolling through. By the way, these if you're new to Tim Holtz Distress inks, these are oxide inks, but any kind of inks. These brushes are amazing. I will link where you can get them from. They sell brushes that, who knows, by the time you watch this, actually they might have come out with them. But right now, officially the blending tools aren't these. They're like little foam things. These are makeup brushes, but they work really well with blending inks. So anyway, so you're scrolling through social media, and you know what I think makes it really difficult? It makes it difficult how you can see pictures of yourself and your friends and family, and they're all kind of intermixed with each other. They're all intermixed with these photos and images of celebrities. And that's these photos have been, I mean, when you're looking at them, you don't realize how edited the photos have been. But you have to realize these photos are stock photos that have been saved, that are professionally edited, professionally doctored. I mean, let's just face it. It might appear like Jennifer Aniston is on vacation every day of the year, but there is a person that her job is to save the photos of when Jennifer Aniston goes on vacation, edit all those photos, and strategically place them on, let's just say, Instagram throughout the feed. So it looks like every day is a giant Photoshop bikini ready vacation. And it really can like mess with your mind when you're looking through, if you're a girl or a guy, and you're like bombarded with photos of perfect bodies and perfect homes and like the perfect life. And I think the way that it's set up, so like I said, so it kind of mixed where you're seeing like, say, your friend and then yourself or whoever, and then the next one is, it all kind of, you know what I'm talking about? So it really kind of, not only are you, like when I was younger, way back in the day when I was younger, you would see Photoshop celebrities in magazines. which, is fine and cool and awesome, and that, that's just the deal. And it was still really hard for when you're growing up to see pictures. But now when you see them right next to pictures of yourself or your friends, and it's almost like this normalizing of, I don't actually know how to say, it's like you're always seeing, you know what I'm trying to say here? And you know what else I think is kind of um, hurt? It can be hurtful. It can be hurtful if you let it be hurtful. And I think a lot of times we let it be hurtful, but we can't let it be hurtful. If we realize, then we know better, right? So I think the fact that I or anybody, if you use filters or apps that you use to make yourself look better, you think, oh, that's amazing, that's so great, it's making me look good, it's making my skin flawless, it's making my everything look great. Subconsciously, these filters, you think they're good, but I think subconsciously they're kind of they're reinforcing this notion that you're not good enough, right? Because if you were good enough, you wouldn't need a filter. You wouldn't need to make yourself look differently. So at first you're feeling better about yourself because you're like, wow, I actually do look kind of good. But then subconsciously it's like it's sending you this message that you're not good enough because you need filters and you need this and you need that. And I'm just telling you, beware of this comparison trap, because like I said, it's a game that you will never, never, never win. And it's just going to make you feel, oh, isn't this cool? See, now this is what I like about the embossing powder. And when you use Distress inks, if you take a baby wipe, it'll wipe off the Distress inks that are on the part of the embossing powder, and it all makes it like magically appear. Like stamping artistic magic. And I'm just taking right now just a little bit. I just use my fingers for everything. Thank God, like everything is non-toxic. At least I think it is and hope it is, because I literally use my hands for everything. My hands get like filthy. Like alcohol markers, just blend them with your hands. Distressing, blend it with your hands. Paints, just blend them with your hands. Who needs tools? I'm loving copper with fall. Fall is really great with copper and gold. Now, also in this journal entry, I don't really go into detail because I'm more just doing the artistic part. But if you'll notice, all of my entries, I save a spot in the bottom for you to write how you're feeling and how you're doing. And I think something, and it was something that was said by, I'm trying to think. I think it was a self-help, one of the self-help gurus. You know, like a business self-help guru, Tony Robbins. I think it was Tony Robbins, or I could be wrong. But what he said was, it's impossible to feel depressed when you're feeling gratitude, or something to that extent. Basically meaning, if you were to take and list things that you're grateful for, and think as you're writing them, or as you're thinking about them, he's basically saying you can't feel bad while you're feeling gratitude, because the two things are just, conflicting. Like, you're listing things that you're grateful for, and all the like the blessings that you have in your life. And I think it might actually even be like scientifically proven that you can't be depressed while you can't feel depression and gratitude at the same time. I mean, so if you could just feel gratitude 24 hours a day, wouldn't that be amazing, right? You never have any worries or problems. But anyway, so I think I leave spots in the journal for you to write, obviously, how you're feeling, especially how you're feeling about how to feel better about yourself when you are so close to falling into this comparison trap. And I think writing a gratitude list is a great way to kind of either get started or maybe end your journal entry. Either way, I always try to add it to my own. If it's not maybe once there are times when I've done it actually once a day, like every day at the end of the day. Sit down and write things that you are grateful for. And a lot of times when you're going through whatever challenges that you may be going through physically or mentally, if you're going through an autoimmune, some kind of flare-up, a lot of people, when you have fibromyalgia, you have flare-ups, or when you have certain types of conditions, some days can be worse than others. So these days, particularly, I think it's important to write down everything that you're grateful for, because it can be super, super, super hard to feel grateful for anything. And once you write it down, once you get it kind of out of your head, it's like, and written, and you can see it, it makes a world of difference. You think, I know I'm grateful for things, but when you have it written down, that's when it really starts to make a difference. So let's get back to our Distress Oxides here. I'll put a link to these in, and they're going to be affiliate links. But these colors, and I'll list them, I think they're really amazing for fall. I really like the way they came out. As you can see, I'm using my fingers as usual. And I think this is also a great way I'll be doing this on all of my the journal entry series. Just kind of starting the entry with like a creative, it can be anything. You can just like smear color across the top of the page or the bottom of the page. I prefer writing on white, like blank white. So I think for our purposes, I'm just going to be just kind of coloring the top of the page, and you can just follow along with me as I'm doing it. And like I said, you don't have to have stamps. All you need is some color. It doesn't have to be inks. It can be paints. It can be anything. And I'm using these. What I like about these oxides too, you can use them almost like watercolors. And once they get wet, they do change a little bit, but they still kind of remain true to their original color. They're like a mix of pigment and dye. So when they get wet, the pigments are like the thicker it's tiny particles, if you can imagine that are dissolved into the fluid, and those kind of rise and they make like a really cool effect. So as you can see, I'm just kind of coloring in. It just makes you feel. And you know what also I really love, and I think it was Rosie O'Donnell that said her favorite color was yellow, because it just makes you can't color yellow and just not feel good. And I really agree with her. Yellow is just like a feel good color. So these other colors for fall are just a little bit of accents that I'm throwing in. And this, I'm just kind of smushing down the ink and the dye onto the page. And spraying some more water. I really like that about this new journal that I got also, the Strathmore Mixed Media. It really holds up to water really well. The other journals I have do too, but this one does particularly well, and I like the surface of it. Now, if you see here how when I sprayed the water, how it made like a mottled kind of like effect where you can see how the water kind of beat it up and separated the pigment and the dye. Really cool. It's so much fun. I'm telling you, by the time you get done with this, you're going to even forget what you're even writing about. But don't forget it. It's super important to get things out of your mind and onto the page. And really get so things are like tangible. You can see them. You can touch them. So anyway, that is it for this week's creative journaling series. Remember, you are awesome. Stay away from the comparison trap. If you start to feel yourself falling in, get yourself out, look at your journal page, and start feeling good again. that's it. I hope you guys feel amazing, and I will talk to you all again soon. Bye.